Hi, welcome to Local Matters. I'm Dorothy Miller, and today's subject is the American Parkinson's Disease Association. We have two guests with us today, Sharon Carr, who's the president of the Arizona chapter of the American Parkinson's Disease Association. Welcome, Sharon. And we have Dr. Becky Farley, who is the founder of Power Gym and also a research professor of physiology at the University of Arizona. Welcome to both of you. It's such a pleasure to have you with us. Sharon, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got involved and what your background is?
I've lived in Tucson about 40 years. I was a nurse's aide at St. Joseph's Hospital. I worked in the news department of KTKT Radio.
Whoa, that's great.
I was a reporter for K-Gun Television for 10 years. Then I was the spokesman for the university for 22 years. And I left the university when I realized that I had Parkinson's disease.
Oh my, so that must have been a big eye-opener.
It was. My father had Parkinson's disease, so I knew what was coming, and it was a shock to find out that I also had it.
Well, so we're going to talk a little bit about that.
We will.
During this time. It's great to have you with us, and I'm sure our viewers would like to hear firsthand about someone who has the disease and can talk about it from their own personal point of view. And Dr. Farley, tell us a little bit more about you and what is this Power Gym. We'll talk a little bit more about that, what that is, but how did you get involved and what is your background?
Well, I'm a physical therapist, and I came to Tucson to get a PhD in neuroscience because I've always wanted to really develop effective therapy interventions for people. And during my postdoc here at the university, I started doing research on people with Parkinson's. I met a local movement disorders specialist, and actually that's when I met Sharon. She was at the university and I was doing some research, and I've just I've realized the value of exercise for people with Parkinson's. And so through the years we've now started a Power Gym program to provide community programs. It's a model program for people here in Tucson.
When you say model program, does that mean it's one of the original Power Gym programs, or it is the original Power Gym? It is the original,
and it's also the original program anywhere in the U.S. like this. So we are trying to provide Parkinson-specific exercises so that people have continuous access to exercise, primarily because we know that it can change the brain as well as that people can get better when they exercise. And so, but they have to have continuous access. They can't just go to rehab and go home.
What are the major things that you would like our viewers to come away from this program with? What are you trying to tell people?
Well, I really just have one thing that's on my mind, and that is, if you have Parkinson's, or somebody in your family or your friend have Parkinson's disease, there is a place you can go to get all kinds of help, and that's the American Parkinson's Disease Association with an office here in Tucson. And so I would just say, check in with us and we'll get you hooked up with people who can help with all kinds of issues related to Parkinson's.
Okay. That is a great goal, and we can let's give the phone number now to our viewers and some more information about it. 326-5400, 1-800-541-4960, and that's www.azapda.org, correct?
Got it all.
Okay, sounds good. And Dr. Farley, and I promise I will call you Becky. She has asked me to call her Becky, but Dr. Farley just sounds so nice. Dr. Becky, why don't you tell us, is there one thing in particular you would like to see come across from this program?
Yes, so what I would add is, don't wait, do it now, contact the APDA, and also do something for yourself. When Sharon's father was diagnosed with Parkinson's, it was a whole different field of medicine then. But we know now that exercise is medicine. and that people can really get better. And it may even slow the deterioration, the motor deterioration. So there is a lot of hope, and you need support. You need all of those things to help live the best you can with Parkinson's. So don't wait. The sooner people do it, the better after being diagnosed.
Right. So let's find out, what is Parkinson's disease? Either one of you, jump right in. Sharon, do you want to start that?
Parkinson's is a really interesting disease because you'd think it was a muscle disease. People with Parkinson's shuffle and shake and fall down, but it's not a muscle disease. It's a brain disease. We're all born with thousands of neurons in our brain that send messages to the muscles to do things like blink or swallow or breathe or walk, and they die off over the course of our life. But people with Parkinson's, nobody knows why. Their neurons die much, much faster than anybody else's. So by the time I was diagnosed, I had lost maybe 80% of the dopamine-producing neurons.
By the time you were diagnosed?
By the time there are enough symptoms to be diagnosed with Parkinson's, you've lost maybe 80% of the neurons. Parkinson's is called idiopathic because we don't know what caused it. It's progressive, which means it just gets worse and worse and worse, and it's incurable. We know what that means.
For sure.
But there are two things that people with Parkinson's can do to slow the progress of the disease. One of them is exercise, and Becky will talk about that. And the other, interestingly enough, is to learn new things that are hard and require a lot of effort on your part and a lot of intensity. You could learn a new language or learn how to, a new sport, ride a stationary bike if you've never ridden before, or buy a Wii video game and learn how to play the games on your TV set. Because when you learn something new that's hard, your brain has to build new pathways. And when it builds new pathways, there's more help to deliver those dopamine messages to your muscles that aren't getting through because the neurons you were born with all died off. So in the spirit of trying to learn new things, sometime last year, I came up with the idea that I'd launch a new career. I'd become a rap musician.
That's fantastic.
Unlikely as that sounds, take a listen to this.
Yo, homie, listen up. A 1, 2, 3. My name is Sharon Kai, and they all knew me. I used to be the spokesman for the university, but you know you've got a problem when your writing gets small. You have a little tremor and a tendency to fall, and your posture is rigid and your pace is slow, and your irritated colleagues say, "Come on, let's go." Well, my substantia nigra lost its pigmentation, and I became a Parky. What a lamentation. But I'll fight it, and you'll never see capitulation. When I say Parkinson's, you say don't give in. Parkinson's.
Don't give in.
Parkinson's.
Don't give in.
With Parkinson's, you ache a lot, you shake a lot, and when you fall, bones break a lot. We find if we conversed a bit that is not the worst of it. In fact, it's just the first of it. Your pace is slow, your feet won't go, your fortunes have reversed a bit, you feel that you've been cursed a bit. All the Parkies in the room, put your hands up. All the Parkies in the room, put your hands up. Well, there's medicine, of course, but the dosage is tricky. If you don't get it right, you have to be picky. If you don't get enough, your feet will freeze you. In the middle of the night, a cramp will seize you. And just about the time you get enough to please you, that internal compound gives you dyskinesia. Well, I think the thing that makes me the maddest is those bottles designed by a psychopathic sadist. You struggle with the lid till your face turns blue. Then you stab at the seal till you finally break through, only to discover that some idiotic jerk has stuffed it full of cotton. Takes hours of work to extract every fiber, shred by shred. Whoever designed that has rocks in the head. Well, Becky Farley has a theory that we all should move big. That's about as likely as a flying pig. Because we're Parkies and we're stubborn. We like tentative and small. We festinate, procrastinate, and barely move at all. When I say move big, you say flying pig. Move big.
Flying pig.
Move big.
Flying pig.
When your voice gets scratchy and your volume is low, and people say, speak louder wherever you go, the unlikely treatment is to bellow endless ahs, over and over without any pause. Dr. Fox is relentless. She says in words gruff, do it again. You're not loud enough. When I say think loud, you say ah. Think loud. Well, I think the symptom that I find the most galling is that sickening feeling when you know you're falling and your feet grip the pavement and your hands beat the air and you look for your balance and it just isn't there. And people all around you are saying, whoop, whoop, and you head for the ground with a sickening swoop. And someone always says, be careful, don't fall. Like if we had a choice, would we do it at all? When your meds quit working, there's deep brain stimulation. A little bit tricky. Here's the situation. They drill a hole in your skull based on a calculation that they believe will be your salvation. And then they spend months in recalibration. Well, it'll ease your symptoms, but I've heard it said, Parkies need DBS like they need a hole in the head. Well, research these days is focused on stem cells. It's a little bit, it shows a lot of promise, but I'd like to see them cells in clinical trials this afternoon. I'm tired of waiting. I'd like answers soon. We need to get up and off of our tushes. We spent way too long beating the bushes. They bailed out the bankers and the brokers and such. Can't they bail us out? Is that asking too much? When I say research, you say now. Research!
Now!
Research!
Now!
Research!
Now!
Research!
Now!
What do we want?
Research!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Research!
When do we want it?
Now!
Well, our hands are shaky and our pace is slow, and we have hallucinations and our feet won't go. But if we can laugh at ourselves without much fuss, we may have Parkinson's. It'll never have us. We're gonna shake it, baby, gonna shake it, baby, gonna shake it, baby, gonna shake it. Everybody now, shake it, baby, gonna shake it, baby, gonna shake it. Yay! Woo-hoo!
You're watching Local Matters, and we're talking to Sharon Kaw and Becky Farley from the Arizona chapter of the American Parkinson's Disease Association. That was Sharon Kaw, and she wrote that and, of course, was the performer. And she is saying that that is one of the things that she's doing to combat her Parkinson's disease. Tell us a little bit more, if you would, Sharon, about how do you know if you have Parkinson's disease?
It is very frustrating. You lose your sense of smell. People tell you you walk funny. You have a pain in your shoulder that won't go away with physical therapy. You finally tell your doctor, and your doctor says, well, we'll keep an eye on that, and which they do for about 5 more years. You notice that your hand is shaking a little bit. You start dragging one foot. You're very slow. People keep asking you if you're mad about something, and you're not mad about anything, but you seem to be projecting that. One of the most definitive things is one arm stops swinging when you walk. The other arm swings naturally, and one arm stops swinging. And that's one of the indicators that this may actually be Parkinson's disease.
Can you tell a long time before your medical doctors can, because you had just said a little bit early in the program that by the time the medical doctors diagnose it, it's pretty far gone. Can you tell fairly much ahead of time if you're looking for the symptoms or not?
Most people know that something is wrong, something is really wrong, but they just can't figure out what it is, and their doctor can't figure it out what it is because the progress is so slow. And there are no lab tests for Parkinson's. There's no X-ray, no MRI. You just have to wait until enough symptoms accumulate that it can be defined as Parkinson's disease.
I see. Well, we were talking a little bit also about how you can slow things down, and I understand, Becky, that the Move Big program, could you tell us a little bit more about that and what's involved and what does it do?
So Move Big, it teaches people with Parkinson's to exaggerate. So typically, it's a way of sort of saying it forces them to use their whole potential. And we know that when you use it, you don't lose it. So that's the whole idea. And so in therapy, this is a research-based therapy. It's a physical therapy approach, and it's based upon loud therapy, which is an efficacious treatment for people with Parkinson's. And we go around the U.S. and around the world training physical therapists, occupational therapists, the loud or training speech therapists, so that they can provide this treatment program. So what we do is we teach people to activate their muscles completely, because that's what the Parkinson's is telling them to not do. They think they're moving at a normal size, a normal speed of movement, but they're not. And so we teach them that you need to exaggerate. And when I exaggerate, I show them how I want them to stand up out of a chair, or I show them how I want them to step and reach for something. We practice big walking and big posture and feeling that. So it's not just doing it, but we teach people how it feels to move big. But when I move big, out comes really big movement, because I have a normal nervous system. But when someone with Parkinson's moves big, they are already starting off too small. And so when they move big, out comes this normal, great movement. And actually, I cannot even begin to illustrate what big is as well as Sharon just did on that videotape doing her rap, because she was exaggerating. I'm sure she was thinking big and loud the whole time, and she's been practicing this for years. We met about 5 years ago, and that's when she had therapy. And she has continued to use her big movements and her loud voice to keep it strong for years. And even in that rap, I've watched her improve over years. The past 3 years as she's practiced doing this, she has made it progressively more difficult. And so just like she did in the rap song, when we do big, we make it more and more difficult for people, because it's not enough to just walk big. You want to continuously challenge yourself. And that's what she was doing with the rap song. And it's gotten longer and more complicated, and she's exaggerating to the point she's gesturing now and has facial expression, and it's remarkable.
Have you seen it make a big difference for you?
Yes,
Sharon?
when I first started working with Becky, I had a very impassive face, and my movements were small, and the steps that I took were very short and slow. And Becky has really changed my demeanor considerably over the years that we've worked together. And so that's encouraging, that even though the disease keeps getting worse,
Right.
you can do things
Okay.
so that your life doesn't keep getting worse.
Right. It sounds like you have made a great effort. Could you tell us a little bit more about why you started the Power Gym program, the community program, and what that means and how people can get involved in that?
Right. So, well, the research, I just want to make the point that, Parkinson's today is going to be a lot different than what Parkinson's will be like tomorrow. So they're trying to learn how to diagnose Parkinson's earlier so that they, with blood tests, with imaging studies, with smell tests and coordination sorts of assessments. And if they can only diagnose it 3 years earlier, then the animal research says if you can get people into exercise programs and keep them exercising, that you can slow the progression of the disease.
And that's what this Power Gym program is?
And that's why I'm doing the Power Gym.
Right. How do people get involved? How do they find out more about this?
Well, this is a model program at Mid-Valley Athletic Club, and they can go to our website at www.powergym.org. That's up there. And they can find out about our classes that we do 4 days a week. We have classes. And we also have, like Sharon said, you want to learn new things. We have enrichment classes as well, teaching people how to do the wee big, how to move with drum beats. And so we have a variety of programs for people to choose from.
Then the American, the Parkinson's Disease Association, I'm assuming that you're working together on this program, and what other kinds of things are available? What can people expect if they contact you, and what kind of help can you give them?
We give them various kinds of help. One thing is, if you're a member of the Arizona chapter of the APDA, and that's a $35 membership, we will subsidize exercise classes to the tune of $25 a month that we will pay. We'll subsidize massage. We'll subsidize respite care, which it gives the caregiver for a person with Parkinson's a chance to, go out and pick up a quart of milk, or maybe even have a cup of coffee with somebody. We provide educational lectures. We have neurologists come in and answer all the kinds of questions that people with Parkinson's have.
When you say come in, where is that, and how do people get there? Tell us a little bit more about that part of it.
If you're a member of the APDA, and I would just recommend that you become a member, just send your email into our website or call the office and say you want to be a member. We will send you information about special conferences that we hold throughout the year. On Tuesday afternoons at the El Dorado Senior Center, there are, almost every Tuesday, there are lectures or information. So we hold meetings various places in town, and we just notify you which place we're going to be at for each meeting.
Let's take another look at where people can contact you and how they can get that kind of information. By going to your website or calling you, 326-5400 or 1-800-541-4960, and your website at www.azapda.org. On your website, does it tell where you're going to be meeting, give all that kind of information?
Yes, on the website it talks about what events are coming up in the near future, and what kinds of support groups meet regularly that you might want to be a participant in.
And
So-
location of the exercise programs as well.
I
in
was going to
town,
say,
yeah.
so the big programs are available. Are they on a continuing basis?
No, so the big therapy is offered at the different hospitals around town. So
Okay.
therapists, and if you want to find a therapist that knows how to do the big therapy or the loud therapy, then go to the website that's lsvtglobal.com.
LSVT.
Global.com, and you can
global.com.
find a therapist in your region, in your city, and go get it's a 4-week program. It's a very intensive program, 4 days a week for 4 weeks. But we know it takes that kind of practice to really relearn how to move normal.
So you shouldn't despair when you find that you have this disease. There is a lot of help and a lot of things that you can do to help yourself. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
I think it sounds fantastic.
I just have to say,
Sure.
not only should you not, but the research says that by not doing anything about it and becoming more and more withdrawn and inactive, that may contribute to the disease process. So we want to help people now immediately at diagnosis.
So it sounds like it's a vicious cycle. If you've got to go upbeat, do things for yourself. And I am just amazed to talk to you because I would never have known that you have Parkinson's disease, and I didn't know it until you said at the very beginning of this program. I think it's fantastic what we can do. It has been such a pleasure to have both of you with us. I'm sure that a lot of people have learned a lot about the disease and how to recognize it and what to do about it. You are doing such fantastic work. I'm loving meeting you.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you
for
so
the
much.
opportunity.